Hello everyone, welcome to the Village of Words. The word relation for this video is shame on leader. Firstly, this video is similar to my old video, Ship Run Astray, Leader Fail. Anyway, when wrong happen, the shame should be put on the leader, not the follower. But there are people who say it is wrong to blame others for your own problems. Well, that is, if you are in power and other people have nothing to do with your problem. Sure, in that case, maybe we should not blame others. But in a different scenario, it is right to blame the leader for the collective problem. The shame for the wrongdoing should go to the leader. After all, we are all not equal. There are always those who are above us. My schizophrenia, for example, irresponsibly blames me for problems. My schizophrenia comes to me with paranoia and supposedly problems. Then, they want me to do something about it, like I am God or something. Or like I am a parent and my child is misbehaving. But in the end, I think my schizophrenia is irresponsible like most people. Blaming a powerless person for their uncontrollable condition. My schizophrenia turns out to be no better than other normal people, perhaps even lesser. Besides that are depressive people. Depressive people takes the brunt and blame themselves for their own condition. My brother has a job and money, while I do not have a job. Depressed people do not blame their leaders and their illness for their condition. Instead, depressed people blame themselves even though they have no power over it. For those who believe in the existence of God, many do not blame God for their problems. Believers do not think to say their poverty or disability is God's embarrassment. If God exists, how can there be poor people or disabled people? Usually, believers say poverty or disability is God's test. Then, believers say not everyone has God's favor. Some of us has God's blessing, some of us do not. Or one might think one's condition is because one did not put any effort for the Lord. But the thing is, one is poor or disabled even before one puts any effort for God. And just because one works for God does not mean one will be rich or healed from disability. Anyway, going back, the shame of wrongdoing should be put on the leader, not the follower. And I do think imperfections is the leader's failure. A leader is supposed to identify the problems and remove the burdens. Usually, a perfectionist simply throws away or fires people if they are lacking. I do think useless dregs should be thrown to the fire. But I also believe it's the boss' fault for the employee's failure. So, it is debatable for me whether the boss or the employee should be fired for failure. For clear error, the employee is certainly responsible, but that does not make the boss innocent. Anyway, are people really useless? Everyone have their own strength and weaknesses. One's particular usefulness might depend on the needs of the company. Maybe one is better off being elsewhere. But like I said, I do not believe anyone is completely useless. Thus, there is perfection in employment and working, throwing away useless people. Then, there is also the rehabilitation of criminals. Although I did say everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, but in starvation, criminals are killed and family is prioritized. Criminals are only kept if they had repented and become good. As there is doctors and physicians, a good leader is able to turn the criminal back to repentance. So, crimes and injustice is the leader's embarrassment. Hence, if God exists and this world is full of filthy injustice, then this filth of the world must be God's embarrassment. Next, if this world is so wrong while God exists, perhaps God must be enjoying himself in heaven than perfecting the world. Just like Muslim countries who would not sacrifice almost everything for Palestine. Next is the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk and America's church shooting. I cannot blame the American president for not able to prevent the assassination. Donald Trump is just human. It is beyond his powers. But if God exists and hears all of us, obviously God hears the plans of the killer. Why did God not prevent Charlie Kirk's assassination? Just like in the Bible, how God had heard Herod's plan to kill Jesus. Or how God had heard the Arabs' plan to assassinate Muhammad back then. If God exists and hears, his just servants would have not been killed. For me, I never believe anyone can hear me anyway. If my schizophrenia, who supposedly talks to me through my brain, and my schizophrenia still cannot hear and fail at grasping my criticism of them, how is any normal person able to hear my ideas? Another thing is the Israel-Gaza war. I heard many Westerners supporting Gaza. The Westerners cried, Gazan children are being killed. Certainly, the enemy Israel is at fault for killing children. But also, the Westerners do not blame the Gazan leader Hamas for failing to protect their children. Obviously, Israel does not blame the Gazan children for their own deaths. Furthermore, unlike Malaysia, America has free speech. For Americans who is tuning to the Israel-Gaza war in the news, Americans who do not hear how bloodthirsty and militant Hamas is are stupid. And Americans are stupid if they do not hear the Israel side of the 7th of October 2023. But let's say there are no stupid Americans. Americans hear both sides of the conflict. Then why, when the Palestine supporters hear Gazan children are being killed, why does the Palestine supporters does not fight Hamas? If Palestine supporters wants to save Gazan children, then they surely have to fight Hamas. So I think the Israel complaint saying, "What about Hamas?" is rational. Many Muslims who support Palestine makes a joke of that saying. But it is true, many Palestine supporters are just hypocrites. Palestine supporters wants to save Gazan children even without removing Hamas. Even starvation, they blame Israel instead of the Gazan leader Hamas. That's all for this video. Hit like, share, or comment down below.